Pakistani nuclear scientist has arrived in the United States with quite an extraordinary story. He has told the FBI, and he's told ABC, that even before Pakistan and India were testing nuclear weapons in May, they were much closer to nuclear war than the U.S. had ever imagined. He says that Pakistan was actually considering a nuclear attack against India. Pakistan denies it, and the U.S. would like very much to know if his story is true. First of all, ABC's James Walker. He's been talking to the man here in New York.
His name is IFTIKHAR Khan, and he says he's a nuclear physicist. He claims that on April 25th, he attended an extraordinary meeting of top Pakistani officials, including the foreign minister and the army chief of staff.
They decided in final that we should attack India. We will attack India. And
Pakistan would launch a nuclear attack
on India.
On India?
Yeah, and their first target was New Delhi.
He said the plan also included attacks on Indian nuclear sites using this intermediate range missile. We spoke to Khan at his lawyer's office. He says Pakistan's warheads were ready. Has Pakistan deployed nuclear weapons?
Yeah.
It has?
Yeah.
To where?
Along the borderline.
Along the border with India?
Yeah.
Khan says the attack was to take place within 3 days at the end of April because Pakistani intelligence was convinced that India was preparing to launch a nuclear strike against Pakistan.
Their first target is Kahuta, which is the mother source of atomic weapons and atomic research of Pakistan.
George Perkovich, a leading analyst on India-Pakistan nuclear programs, says Pakistan's fears were groundless.
The whole thing is predicated on faulty intelligence that India was somehow going to attack Pakistan and try to wipe out its nuclear capabilities.
Dr. Khan says the government backed down only after he and 4 other scientists sent this letter to their boss, threatening to go public with the attack plan. Pakistan's ambassador to the United Nations denies Khan even worked in the nuclear program.
The man is talking nonsense. There is no such thing as a preemptive first strike by Pakistan against India.
Khan is now talking to American intelligence, and he's applying for political asylum in the United States. James Walker, ABC News, New York.
Well, Mr. Khan has certainly stirred the water. There's some skepticism around, so we thought we'd best check in with the Pentagon and ABC's John McCarthy. John, first of all, do your intelligence sources there think the man is who he says he is?
He is probably the man he said he is, Peter, a mid-level bureaucrat who may have had access to other people's inboxes, who may have sat in some of the meetings. Whether or not he heard everything correctly and understood it is still in question.
Now, what about Pakistan having a weapons capacity? When they were testing, I thought they didn't have.
The United States has believed for some time that it is quite possible that Pakistan already had nuclear weapons and may have already built warheads for some of their missiles, so that is possible.
And so just in general terms, how skepticism or what about this man?
Well, the U.S. government is looking at him, trying to assess his story. Some of the intelligence that he is providing matches what the U.S. believes. A lot of it does not. So they are skeptical, but they are listening.
Okay, John, thanks very much. As you know, I'm going to go on with some other notes that John McCarthy sent us a little earlier today. He has learned that there are going to be serious charges brought against the Marine pilot and his navigator who flew their jet solo through the...
And up next, his nation was about to launch a nuclear strike against India.
They decided that this is the time to attack India.
He is 29 years old and telling a story even the U.S. State Department hesitates to believe. Yet offering a copy of his government ID card, Dr. IFTIKHAR Khan claims he worked for Pakistan's top nuclear research center, telling most of his story through his new American lawyer.
They had direct targets on New Delhi and other installations.
2 weeks after atomic scientists reset their symbolic doomsday clock to voice concern over India and Pakistan's recent nuclear testing, Khan is emerging with his claim that he was fired from his nuclear post when he wrote this protest letter to Pakistan's chief scientific officer.
Dr. Hussain, his superior, immediately and summarily threatened to have him killed if he would not stand down.
Khan claims he secured this passport and visas to various countries back in March for himself and his 5-year-old son, sensing a nuclear crisis was imminent. He claims his wife was kidnapped right before he fled Pakistan. He took flights through Dubai, Frankfurt, Germany, across the Atlantic to Montreal, Canada, finally entering the United States and New York City by riding an Amtrak train.
I'm still feeling that the life of my wife is in danger. she's at risk.
Khan claims he and 4 other nuclear scientists have defected, but the Pakistani government has denied this, telling USA Today the claims about a strike against India are particularly malicious. Pakistan calls Khan a low-level civil engineer who would never have had access to top nuclear secrets. But Khan tells his lawyer he witnessed Iranian scientists at his research facilities and shipments of Chinese material for nuclear bombs.
We would not take a frivolous claim.
Well, tonight, Pakistan's UN mission right here in New York is calling Khan's story a complete con job. It says the ID card he's using is a fake from the early 80s belonging to a different man. The U.S. State Department, meantime, says it doesn't have any information on Khan's claims. Jack.